I conclude, as we began, in agreement that a safer society is something we all want. The challenge with this particular conversation and this particular legislation is we start there and then we pivot immediately to an abdication of our freedoms, to an abandonment of our personal liberties, to a forfeiture of our private property without appropriate due process. And we do it all in the hope of a safer society. But here's a question, and this is the sort of question we need to think about. Any deliberative body should think about this. What are the freedoms and liberties and constitutional protections that protect everyone that we are willing to give up in order to hone in on a single, narrow, individual situation? That is dangerous, my friends, that we give up universal rights and freedoms and processes that are the hallmarks of this incredible country. The country where they said, let's do an experiment. For the first time ever, let's make the people sovereign and the king, the government, the servant of the people. You lose that sovereignty. You lose that authority where the people, in fact, are above and the government serves them when you walk away from your freedoms and your liberties and your constitutional protections. This is a very philosophical argument I'm making, but it's an important argument, I would say, that we must protect due process, we must protect our rights if, in fact, we truly want to be safe. Sadly, this bill, in my opinion, is a misguided, ends justify the means, headlong rush. Now, we have had some very uncomfortable slowing in the last few days of the headlong rush that we seem to have had in this building running into this week. As we leave this week, it seems as though we've slowed to a slightly more deliberative path and process and tempo. As uncomfortable as that is, as much as I'd rather be home right now, I think it's important that we take the time to think through, work through, and talk through these really important issues. To the bill itself, I really have heartburn, and it's not from the wonderful empanada I just had. I have heartburn over the fact that this bill essentially, when you look at it broadly, says you're guilty until proven innocent or proven sane. And you got to climb a wall of more challenging evidentiary standards as you work to fight back to your innocence or the definition of your sanity. I also have concerns, as you heard, about the array of individuals, some of whom may have been fairly casual in an individual's life, who can raise concerns, who can, as they say colloquially, drop the dime, possibly as a tool of revenge or vindictiveness. That is not a good place to start. And then the challenges get worse as the process of people, individuals that we're fighting on behalf of, we're trying to understand, their rights may be trampled upon. Here's another piece that I had not thought of, and I'm grateful for the debate today and grateful for the insights of my colleague from El Paso County. I think that this bill, as drafted, has the potential to create a significant expansion in the power of law enforcement. Well, I'm a law enforcement kind of guy, and generally I'm very, very comfortable with a strong and stable law enforcement. However, when we move forward into a philosophical idea of preventive punishment, I start to think of that movie that was popular a while back, the Minority Report's the name of the movie. Who's the actor?
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. How dare I forget Tom Cruise's name? It was a dystopian future. That means it's a bad time that's somewhere ahead of us. But this bill, I will tell you, is the edge of that dystopian future. In that movie, billboards looked into people's eyes and understood who they were and what they were thinking and took judgments and stepped into their lives, intervened, and prevented them from executing crimes. Does that not sound like this bill? In fact, it does. But quite frankly, that is not my primary objection to this bill. My primary objection to this bill is it does not address the root issue that we all know underlies the problem. And that is the challenge and the problem of mental health. So not only are we writing bad policy, we're leaving people out there who still need our help. And all we're doing is intervening and confiscating a narrow subset of the property they have with which they may be able to do harm to themselves or harm to others. Yet we leave behind other elements of their private property with which they can do equal or greater harm. What is the sense in that? So that is my concluding thought on this bill. Shame on us for starting out saying we're going to help somebody who is having a mental break, who is having a crisis in their mental health, and then we pivot to confiscating property instead of getting them the support that they need. I oppose this bill strenuously.